Cycling could be considered the most important leg of a triathlon because it takes up more than 50% of the duration of the race. We're going to give you a couple tips that are going to have you feel more confident on the bike, as well as hopefully improve your speed and efficiency as well.
Now I'm looking in your eyes, but I'm wondering.
As it pertains to speed, being in aero is key. There's so many expensive upgrades you can make, but the biggest investment you can make is just really fine-tuning your position on the bike. That is the biggest time savings, to be in a really optimum aerodynamic position. Make sure you don't lose out on comfort, you don't lose out on power, but then from there you get as low as possible on the bike so that you have less wind turbulence coming over the body. A key cycling tip we give our athletes when they're changing gears is if you're climbing up a hill and you now need to switch from the big chainring in the front to the small chainring, make sure to go 2 gears bigger in the back cassette before switching into that small chainring, and that's going to be the most natural progression where you don't feel like you're slipping through the gears or losing any momentum by changing into that small chainring. Something you all need to know about when to shift gears is that if you see a corner coming up, you need to go into a lighter gear before hitting that corner, because when you come out of the corner, if you haven't switched into the lighter gear, you're just going to be grinding to get back up to speed as quickly as possible. So go about 2 to 3 gears easier, be able to accelerate at a lighter gear out of the corner, get back up to speed, and then immediately go into a bigger gear afterwards. Make sure you all are prepping your bike before every single ride. A key thing that you've heard everyone say is that a clean bike is a fast bike, and that is very true. So a couple things you can do before and after every ride. Number one, before every ride, make sure that you are adding PSI to your tires. You lose PSI overnight if it's standing there, so make sure you just put it up to the optimum tire pressure, and there are tons of resources and apps out there to figure out what exact tire pressure you need for your tire and for your bike. The other thing that we recommend athletes do is make sure they keep their chain lubed at all times, and so after a ride they may clean their bike and then immediately apply lube to be ready for the next ride. At least once a week we should be washing our bike if you are riding outside, at least once or twice a week, in order to keep the bike clean and keep grime off the bike. Because when you are climbing, you should be shifting your weight back and you need to be pushing your heels down. You're going to put a lot more force into the pedals at that point versus toe down or too far forwards on the saddle. The other thing is, if you had to get out of the saddle, just make sure that the bike is moving underneath you and you're not moving over the bike. So what that means is you're holding the handlebars and you'd be moving the bike side to side as you climb, and you keep your hips as steady as possible. Same thing, you're typically going to do this in a bigger gear and you're going to have your heels slightly down as you're climbing. A key thing to ride well is knowing how to shift gears on your bike at the right time. One thing I would advise new athletes to do is just go out on their bike and just shift gears at all times, understanding what is creating more tension on the pedals, as well as where are you going lighter on the pedal stroke. And then if you're climbing a hill, you always want to anticipate the hill in order to keep your cadence the same. So as you're climbing, be prepared to shift in a lighter gear. And as you do so, make sure you're not grinding through those gears. You're lightening up on the pedal stroke as you shift a gear, because that is a key reason why you end up dropping your chain. This is a key handling skill, especially if you're new to the sport of cycling, knowing how to corner. So the way you do it, as if you're coming up to a corner, your leg position should be, if you're turning left, your left knee needs to be up and your right leg needs to be down. And then you also want to distribute your weight accordingly. So you're going to shift your weight to the outside, as well as you might even put this right elbow out if you're turning left. Okay, then you want to look where you want to go, and from there the front tire will follow. As far as the apex, you might go on the outside of the corner and then cut across. Sometimes you don't have that choice when you're in a triathlon because there's so many people around you, and in that case you just have to hold your line. That way someone coming by you doesn't run into you, as well as someone on the inside line, you don't run into them. A question I'm always asked when cycling is, when you're going into a headwind, going up a hill, down a hill, how does your power change? Well, it's simply this. If you're going into a headwind or going up a hill, yes, of course your power is going to go up in order to hold speed, and that is okay. You need to account for that in your race plan. Same thing when you're going down a hill or on a tailwind, you're not trying to hold the same power that your race plan calls for. Depending on the force of the tailwind, depending on the steepness of the descent, that's how much power you're going to lose on that. So there's no reason to focus on trying to hit your power. It's all about speed at this point.